Dark clouds gathered above the Fulton County Superior Court, the kind of clouds that seemed to mirror the heaviness of the moment, as though nature itself were bracing for impact. Inside, Courtroom 4D stood still beneath flickering lights, the gallery slowly filling with spectators unaware that a reckoning was imminent. Most assumed it would be a routine arraignment. But something far deeper and more volatile was taking shape, a confrontation that would not only expose corruption but threaten the very foundation of trust in the justice system. Ebony Jacobs, dressed in a flawless gray suit, took her place at the defense table. Her eyes were unwavering, her posture composed. No one watching her that morning realized that this poised young woman was anything but ordinary. Beneath that calm exterior stood the newly appointed chief legal advisor to Georgia's governor. Her silence wasn't submission, it was strategy. Only 48 hours earlier, Ebony had been leaving a late-night meeting at the state capitol. The reforms she was drafting were intended to bring long-overdue transparency to the criminal justice system, targeting biases she'd seen ravage marginalized communities her entire life. With her laptop case beside her and thoughts focused on the final provisions of the bill, she didn't immediately notice the police cruiser following her through the quiet suburban streets. It wasn't until flashing red and blue lights lit up her rearview mirror that she realized she was being pulled over. She pulled over, calmly, her heart pounding despite the fact that she knew she'd broken no laws. She wasn't speeding. Her tags were up to date. Her insurance was current. Still, history taught her that black drivers didn't always need to be guilty to be in danger. Officer Reinhardt, a stocky white man with cold, suspicious eyes, approached with a swagger that reeked of assumed authority. Without provocation, he fired off questions. Where are you coming from? Why are you out this late? Who do you work for? I'm a legal advisor, she said calmly. To Governor Alexander McKinley. That response only deepened his scowl. Then came the baseless accusation. I smell alcohol, he announced, even though she hadn't consumed a drop. When she declined a search of her car, citing her constitutional rights, his demeanor darkened. Within minutes, she was ordered out of her vehicle, her professional materials dumped onto the passenger seat. Before she could protest, her wrists were in handcuffs. The Miranda warning, mumbled and monotone, did little to mask the humiliation. By sunrise, she was processed, fingerprinted, and booked. Her phone was taken. Her call delayed. She spent the night in a cell that stank of mildew and stale sweat, walls etched with vulgar graffiti. Despite it all, Ebony tried to stay grounded. Surely this would be cleared up once they realized who she was. After all, there was no crime. But justice, she knew too well, wasn't always fair. Judge Hamilton Wright was notorious. Revered by some for his tough-on-crime stance, others whispered about his blatant patterns of racial bias, whispers that grew louder in the hallways of Fulton County's courthouse but never reached the formal chambers. Ebony had observed him before. His tone, his rulings, even his expressions, so markedly different when addressing defendants of color. Still rumpled from her night behind bars, Ebony appeared in his courtroom without counsel, believing the charges would be thrown out. But when her name was called, Judge Wright didn't so much as flinch. Miss Ebony Jacobs, he said flatly. You stand accused of obstructing a police officer in the course of his duties. She tried to speak. Your Honor, I was unfairly, Do you have representation? He snapped. I haven't had the opportunity. Then I suggest you obtain one, he barked. This court does not look favorably on self-representation. Ebony wanted to say she was a licensed attorney, but something about the way he looked at her made her pause. She requested a continuance. There was a flicker in Judge Wright's eyes. Noted, he said. However, bail must be set based on the seriousness of the charge. Officer Reinhardt alleges aggressive behavior. That indicates you may be a danger to the community. Ebony's heart pounded. I have no record, Your Honor. I work for the governor. I was fully compliant. Bail is set at $10,000. She stood frozen. It was exorbitant for a misdemeanor charge, and without a shred of evidence. As the gavel fell, Ebony was led from the courtroom. Her name began to ripple through the hallways. Ebony Jacobs, the governor's legal advisor. Arrested. Silenced. But she was not defeated. After posting bail, Ebony met with two of her closest allies, Amanda Persing, a formidable civil rights attorney, and Samuel Lee, the governor's deputy chief of staff. They met at a cafe just blocks from the Capitol, where Amanda laid out her plan. There's no justification for what happened, Amanda said, voice tight with fury. We need to file for dismissal immediately. But don't be surprised if this judge doubles down. He has a pattern, and we need to prove it. Samuel nodded gravely. The governor is furious. He's willing to back whatever legal or political action necessary. Ebony took a steady breath. We do this the right way. We gather evidence. We find the truth. We don't play their game. We show the whole board. Amanda requested dash cam and body cam footage. The department's response: files were lost due to technical error. How convenient. Even more troubling were Officer Reinhardt's disciplinary records, multiple complaints of misconduct, racial profiling, and use of excessive force. All dismissed due to lack of evidence or, again, missing footage. It was a pattern, a grotesque one. Then came the break. A woman named Linda Harper had driven past the arrest that night. She had filmed part of it on her phone. Amanda reviewed the footage. The angle was limited. The audio was muffled, but it clearly showed Ebony calm and compliant, while Officer Reinhardt yelled, accused, and acted unreasonably. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. At the preliminary hearing, Amanda challenged the officer's narrative. "Where's the footage?" she asked. "Why is it always lost?" Judge Wright shut her down. "That's irrelevant to this case," he ruled. Then Amanda presented Linda. The courtroom held its breath as the woman described what she saw and handed over the recording. Judge Wright recessed for 30 minutes to review it. When he returned, his tone was cold. "Inconclusive," he said. "Not grounds for dismissal. Trial will proceed." It was a setback, but not defeat. Back at Amanda's office, the team began assembling a larger picture. They uncovered other cases, dozens, where Officer Reinhardt had made dubious arrests and Judge Wright had imposed disproportionately harsh sentences. In many of them, body cam footage was again missing. This wasn't incompetence. It was coordination. "We need to go bigger," Ebony said. "Let's involve the DOJ." Amanda agreed. "But be ready, they'll come after you personally." And they did. Smear pieces surfaced. Allegations of past friendships with people who'd committed crimes. Accusations that she was leveraging her political status to dodge responsibility. Then Judge Wright made a public comment, questioning her integrity. Amanda filed a motion to have him recused. He denied it, while presiding over the motion himself. Still, the tide was shifting. A private investigator, hired to scour department archives, found a backup server with partial dashcam footage from the night of Ebony's arrest. It showed Ebony calm and compliant. Reinhardt, meanwhile, falsely radioed dispatch claiming she was belligerent at the exact moment her calm voice could be heard on video. The footage was authenticated by 2 forensic experts. It was real. The next hearing was electric. Amanda played the footage in open court. The evidence was overwhelming. The judge had no choice. "Charges are dismissed," he muttered. But Amanda wasn't finished. She requested a formal investigation into Officer Reinhardt and filed a complaint with the Judicial Qualifications Commission against Judge Wright on record in open court. Judge Wright erupted. "This hearing is adjourned," he snapped, storming out, face red with rage. Within hours, the governor held a press conference on the Capitol steps. Standing beside Ebony and Amanda, he announced a full review of the judge's past rulings and an immediate internal investigation into the officer's conduct. In the days that followed, Officer Reinhardt was placed on administrative leave. Other victims came forward. The Judicial Qualifications Commission opened a case against Judge Wright. A month later, under growing scrutiny, Judge Wright resigned. For Ebony, it was a bittersweet victory. She had won, not just for herself, but for everyone who'd suffered in silence. The legislation she helped draft gained new momentum. Her story was proof that when courage meets truth, no system is too powerful to confront. And as she walked into her office one quiet morning, the clouds finally breaking above the Capitol, she knew this wasn't the end. It was the beginning.